Hey, what's going on, guys? Let's do this Leetcode problem 2149, rearrange array elements by sign. So go ahead and pause the video and read through it if you haven't already. So the problem wants us to rearrange nums such that every consecutive pair of integers have opposite signs, but they stay in the same order in which they were in the original nums array. And then it wants us to start with a positive integer. So this is the original nums in this first example. And the answer they want us to return is this right here. So it's alternating between positive and negative numbers, but starting with a positive, and they stay in the same order relative to each other. So the positive numbers went, let's just draw them out. These are the positive numbers, 3, 1, 2, in that order. And then the negative numbers were -2, -5, and -4. So if we kind of just take these and store them as variables, you can see what we can do is just, we know that we want to start with the positive one. So we can just kind of one by one add them to kind of an answer array until we've recreated the answer we're looking for. So this will be the first approach we can code up. So in this particular solution, we're taking advantage of a lot of the constraints that are given to us. So we know that first off, the length of nums is even, and that it consists of equal positive and negative integers. So it's going to alternate perfectly, positive, negative in a 1-to-1 ratio. So, and this also tells us that nums is never going to be 0 because the absolute value of nums is always going to be greater than or equal to 1. So we don't even have to check for zeros, and I don't even know if 0 is a positive number or not. I guess it's neither positive or negative, right? Anyway, so what we want to do is set two arrays, positive nums and negative nums. And in these arrays, we're just going to keep track of, what they are, the positive numbers and the negative numbers as they appear in nums. So we can just loop through the nums array and add numbers as we see them. And the only thing we have to check is if num is less than 0, then we know it's negative. And we can go ahead and add it to negative nums. Otherwise, we know it's going to be positive, and we can add it to positive nums. Then we want to make an answer array, and at this point, we have our positive and negative num lists. We can spell these out from this example here. 3, 1, and 2, and -2, -5, and -4. And we just want to start with the positive. So let's loop through every number in the positive array. And like I mentioned earlier, what's helpful is we know that these two arrays are always going to have the same length because nums consist of an equal number of positive and negative integers. So we can loop through I in range of length positive nums or negative nums, it doesn't matter. And we know that we're not going to get like an out of bounds for either one of these lists. And we can just do answer.append. We want to start with the positive number, so positive nums at integer I, and we can just copy paste that line for negative nums. So we can return answer, and unless I've made a mistake, this should give us accepted solution. Let's go ahead and submit it. And we did it. We completed the Leetcode daily. Got a little Leetcoin reward. Looks like it's pretty fast. The time complexity is going to be big O of n. We loop through the entire array once to get these positive and negative nums arrays, and then we loop through half of the array, half of n, to get our final answer array filled out. So that'll simplify down to O of n time complexity, and space complexity is going to be big O of n as well because of these negative nums and positive nums, which will add up to nums. So this is pretty good. I think there's another solution that maybe looks a little better or is kind of condensed. We can do this all just in one for loop, and the way we'll do that is by keeping track of an index for positive nums and negative nums, and we just know that we want to start with positive nums. So we'll go ahead and create an answer array that already has the right length, which is the length of the nums array, but with the zeros as kind of blank spaces. We can delete all this. So same as earlier, we need to check if a number is negative, but what we're going to have is what I'm going to call negative index and positive index. And positive index is actually going to be lower than the negative index. We're going to set the negative index at 1, and then what we're going to do is increment these by 2 when we run into positive and negative numbers. And what this will do is let us kind of, no matter what order they appear, we want to adjust our array so that they alternate, right? So even if we get a bunch of negative numbers in a row, we want to put positive numbers in between all those negative numbers. So we're not going to be appending anything because we already created an answer array with all the right indexes. Instead, we're just going to edit the answer at whatever index is appropriate. So for negative numbers, it's going to be the negative index. And as we adjust it, we want to adjust the negative index. Otherwise, if it's a positive number, go to the positive index, and then increase the positive index. I forgot to type positive index, but that works. But let's kind of explain kind of why it works a little better. I think I can be a little more detailed about that. So let's kind of go through this loop in our heads. For num and nums, we're going to start with the number 3. And remember, our answer is starting out with just a bunch of zeros in place of nums. So there's 6, nums has a length of 6, so there's 6 zeros. And, you know, positive index points right here, and negative is going to point right here. And, you know, we can already kind of trace what negative index will be. So, you know, this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And positive, as it goes plus equals to 2, it's just going to land here and then here. And negative will take us here and here. So back to this example, we start with a 3, then our positive index increases by 2 to right here. Then we get a 1, so we're going to hit this part of the loop, or the if statement I should say, and add it here. Then we get a negative 2, so our negative index is at 1, so we're going to add this number at that index. We get a negative 5, our negative index is increased by 2, so now we're here. Then we have a 2, our positive index is currently here. And then we have a negative 4, so we're going to go here. So I don't think I explained this one as well as I did the first one, but if you work through it, you should be able to see how the solution is working. It brings down the time complexity a little bit. I mean, it's still big O of n, but we're doing it with just one loop. And it improves on our space complexity because we don't need these positive nums and negative nums array. We just need the answer array. So I guess it's still technically O of n, but it kind of has to be because you're returning an array that's going to be the same size as nums. And that solution works there. And you can see our memory improved. So I hope that was helpful. This was today's Leetcode Daily, February 13th. It's 11:20 p.m. And I'll see you in the next one.